Hello and welcome to this edition of the Alaska Report. I'm Senator Lisa Murkowski. I'm very glad that you could join us today. Today I have in the studio some very special guests. This is the first of two groups of my summer interns. These young Alaskans have the opportunity to see the work of a Senate office and the legislative process from a very unique perspective through their internship. Many individuals in public service today can trace their careers back to their own internship. And I know this for a fact because I too was once a summer intern here in Washington, D.C., and it had a great impact on my life. The interns who are with us spend some time shadowing me. They come to my meetings, they go to the hearings around the Capitol, they observe what a day is like in the life of a senator. And it's a great opportunity for them as just graduated high school students, but it's also a great opportunity for us and for the staff that I have here in Washington, because we're energized by all that they have to bring to our office. It's great. And typically I would do an installment of the Alaska Report with both groups of my summer interns, but we've got Senate rules regarding the use of Senate equipment before a primary and a general election, and so I'm not going to be able to tape an Alaska Report with my second group of summer interns this year. But I do want to recognize ahead of time the contributions that they will make, as well as certainly the interns that are currently serving in my office. So with that, I'd like to turn to the interns and allow each of you to introduce yourself to our Alaska viewers. And this is a great opportunity for me because it's your chance to ask me questions. I've been asking you questions about where you're from and how, what you do in school and where you want to go. So this is now your chance. And again, to greet our Alaska constituents by way of this Alaska video report. So Mariah, why don't we start off with you? Tell everybody who you are, what high school you went to, and then let's have some questions.
Okay, well, thank you. My name is Mariah Shones. I'm from Palmer in Alaska, and I recently graduated from Palmer High School. Now, I would like to know, how do you think the federal government should respond to the recent conflict in Israel regarding the violent takeover of an international aid ship going to Gaza and the killing of 9 unarmed Turkish aid workers?
Obviously a very, very difficult, very tense issue. And when you have loss of life in a very violent confrontation, this certainly gets the attention of not only those of us here in the United States, but around the world. We have just recently, those in the Senate, have just recently signed on to a letter that was authored by Senator McConnell as the the minority leader, and Senator Reid as the majority leader here in the Senate, that urges a review, an investigation, a clearer understanding of this. I think it is important that we recognize that Israel, in an effort to provide for their security, a blockade is a legitimate path. But I think there are more issues that I think we need to discern and learn from this incident. But as one who has been a strong supporter of Israel, I want to make sure that in terms of the process going forward, Israel knows that they have that support of the United States. But again, a very dicey diplomatic situation at this point in time. As we speak, there is aid that is underway to Gaza. That is in process. But again, very, very difficult issue. Thanks for being with us, Mariah.
Thank you.
Shannon.
I'm Shannon Stowe, and I'm from Palmer, and I recently graduated from Palmer High. And my question is, what is the one thing you would most like to accomplish as senator if given the opportunity?
There are so many big-ticket items, so many issues that you look at and say, aha, if we were just able to advance an energy policy that was good for Alaska, good for the nation, if we could only open up ANWR so that it would help us in Alaska develop our resources, if we could only do more to build an education policy that was sound and stable, if we could only do more to put our country on a stable basis when it comes to jobs and the economy. So there's so many things. So you're putting me in a tough spot by you saying, what's the one thing? I will tell you, just in terms of general issues, things that keep me awake at night, things that concern me about our country as a whole, it's first and foremost, it's what is happening with the level of spending and debt that we are seeing, and that has implications across the board. I talk a lot about energy security, being the ranking member on the Energy Committee, but I also recognize that our energy insecurity also leads to our financial insecurity as a nation. So it's an issue that, again, is there something that I would look to and say, this is the legislative accomplishment of my career? There is so much that is involved with representing the people of Alaska and serving in the United States Senate. We work on so much on a daily basis, as you're all learning, as you're shadowing me, but I am very concerned about the direction that we're taking when it comes to debt and spending.
Thank you.
Thanks. Laura.
My name is Laura Soley. I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska, and I just recently graduated from West Valley High School. So, after the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers denied ConocoPhillips' application for a drill pad, CD5, ConocoPhillips appealed the denial. What happens if after 6 months the the appeal is again denied? Also, you stated, if allowed to stand, the myopic decision will kill all future oil development from the nation's largest designated petroleum reserve and probably stop all future natural gas production from that area as well. What happens to Alaska's economy if all production is stopped in that area? Also, what is your role as senator on this issue?
Well, it's an excellent question, and one that, as this issue develops, can really impact our state's economy. As we all know, the Trans-Alaska Pipeline is about half full. Our efforts as a state to fill up that pipeline are going to be critical in the years ahead. We're a state where close to 90% of our state's budget comes from oil. And so that means that funding for public safety, for education, for transportation, this is all wrapped up into the revenue streams that we have coming from oil. CD5 and the operation there that Conoco is building and hoping to build out in the National Petroleum Reserve represented an effort to open up an area on the North Slope that had been designated by Congress specifically for oil and gas exploration. And for all those who have opposed us on opening ANWR for so many years, so many of them have said, go over to the National Petroleum Reserve. That's what it was designated for. So the first opportunity to do that were shut down by the Corps of Engineers. This is not good for the future of our state. We need to do all that we can to help facilitate that. Now, there is a process that is underway, but I am concerned that if, in fact, the go-ahead is not granted in the National Petroleum Reserve, that it shuts the door there. We're concerned about the door that has been shut offshore in the Beaufort and Chukchi as a consequence of the suspension of the permits that have been put in place as a consequence of what's going on in the Gulf. So for us in Alaska and our economic prospects down the road, this is a very, very key issue for it. As the ranking member on the Energy Committee, we are very, very involved and engaged in following not only this issue, but all those issues that would help us as an energy producing state help to maximize our resources for the benefit of Alaskans and the benefit of this country's energy needs. Good question, Laura.
Thank you.
Kelsey.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Wallace. I'm from Bethel, Alaska, and I attended Bethel Regional High School. Senator Murkowski, there are many young Native students who see little or no encouragement to further their education, either by going to college or simply completing high school. What can we do to increase the low education attendance of Native students in Alaska?
It is such an important question, and I appreciate the focus that you are placing on it. I serve on the Indian Affairs Committee, and we've had many opportunities, as I served on that committee now for 7 years, to really try to drill down and understand where are we missing the boat when it comes to education and incenting or inspiring young Alaska Natives to pursue their academic goals. And so much of it comes back to relevance. Is school meaningful? Is it important? Is it viewed as something important by the families, by the community? What can we be doing more to make sure that what happens in the classroom is something that young people want to be part of? And I think part of what we need to look to, we need to make sure that we've got good teachers. Good teachers, whether you are in Bethel or whether you are in Anchorage or Fairbanks or Palmer, good teachers are what can inspire kids, but we've got some issues. It's tough to recruit and retain teachers who might not want to go out to a very small village. We've got some federal issues in terms of highly qualified teachers meeting standards that might prove to be disincentives to getting good educators out there. We've got some facilities needs out in some of these areas where you have educators look at it and say, this is not a school that I want to teach in because the conditions are difficult or the high cost of living in the villages. So much of it comes back to the teaching. I'm also a big proponent of ensuring that there is a connection between what you're learning at school and what you know at home. And so I have long supported those programs that encourage instruction in our heritage languages. There are the Yupik immersion program there in Bethel is one where the young kids are instructed in Yupik, and we need to make sure that it meshes up then, the instruction meshes up with the testing requirements that will come on later as they kind of age up within the system. So there's much that we can do, but so much of it starts with having good, strong educators. But again, coming back to the issue of relevance and ensuring that young people feel motivated to be part of that academic success. So I'm pleased to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eva.
My name is Eva Kress, and I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. I recently graduated from South Anchorage High School. And Senator Murkowski, my question for you is, what initially sparked your interest in politics, and in particular the Republican Party?
What sparked my interest in politics? I was involved in politics from a pretty early age, just because we lived in communities where there was exposure to what was going on. I had a chance at a very early age to be the campaign manager of a gubernatorial candidate, and it was not because I was so politically aggressive or sharp. It was because they needed somebody to open up the office and make sure that the brochures were all arranged nice and neat and tidy, and I got very interested in it, and it really did spark my interest. But I was also involved in high school in student government. I know many of you were involved in your student governments, and that part of leadership within your school is something that does stick with you and makes you think, well, maybe I could do something further on down the line. But after I got out of college and law school, I was involved in local party issues, working within my district, helping to get others elected, and just kind of a general involvement that accumulates, I guess, after a while. But it's something that I encourage young people to be involved at all levels. You don't necessarily need to be elected in order to be utilizing your political skills. You can be involved in your church group. You can be involved in a community campaign. That's where the leadership really evolves and comes about. So thanks for the question.
Thank you.
I think we're back up here. Ahmed.
All right, my name is Ahmed Nasser. I'm from Anchorage, and I recently graduated from Diamond High School. My question for you, Senator, is the opening of ANWR promises to bring thousands of jobs, billions of dollars in revenue, and an economic and energy boost to the state. What can you do as a member of Congress from Alaska to open up this national resource?
Well, it's something that I've been working on my political career here, and that others before me worked on for decades. We've been trying now for 25 plus years to open up ANWR. And as far as I'm concerned, we will keep pushing until we are successful. We have a resource up there that this country needs. I believe that we as a state have demonstrated that we can produce responsibly in a northern environment, and this access to a considerable resource, a considerable reservoir, is going to help not only our state but our country when it comes to energy independence. So it's something that I'm committed to working on. The politics are against us right now. We don't have the votes in the Senate. We have been close before, but close doesn't get you there. You've got to have the votes in order to achieve that hurdle. And right now the votes are not there to support opening ANWR. But that doesn't mean that you back off. It doesn't mean that you relax on this issue. It just means that we keep reminding not only members of the Senate and of the Congress, but of this whole country, that we have a resource up there that is enviable. And again, that we have the capability to produce this resource. I have proposed kind of a compromise. I said, okay, if for those of you who are concerned about impact to the land, let's not drill on ANWR itself. Let's drill in the area that is currently under production, but let's use our technologies and allow us to drill under the surface. This is the horizontal directional drilling concept, and I think that is a proposal that will demonstrate we can access the resource. We do it in a responsible manner, and it alleviates the concerns of those that would object. We haven't been able to get them to agree with us on that yet, but again, we're not giving up until we have been successful. We'll keep at it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Terranova.
Hello, Senator. I'm Terranova Tasker from Anchorage, and I recently graduated from Diamond High School. And my question for you is, what has been your most memorable moment in your years of Congress?
That's kind of like, what is the one thing that you wish to accomplish? Because there are so many memorable moments. And again, I've had the opportunity to visit with world leaders. The Dalai Lama was visiting here in Congress, and I had an opportunity to sit down and chat with the Dalai Lama. I mean, that's something that you don't forget. But I will tell you, as I think about those things that have motivated me, inspired me to work harder, it's the little stories. It's individuals that have come back as citizens. We've got a group that has come back for years now, and some younger children that have childhood diabetes and juvenile diabetes, and they're looking for that cure. They're hoping that there's something that Congress can do that can ultimately help them, and to see these young children who have come to visit once a year, to see them each year, see the progress, see how they have taken a very difficult situation in their personal lives and turned it around to be an advocate for others. It inspires you to do more, to work harder, And those are things that don't necessarily make the headlines. But again, they remind me of why we do what we do.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thomasa.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Thomasa Camillus, and I'm a recent graduate of South Anchorage High School. I grew up in Anchorage. And I would like to know, how does the recent Gulf of Mexico oil spill disaster and the revelation that oil producers seem to have little or no ability to clean up a spill or prevent serious environmental damage, how does that alter your opinion of offshore drilling in Alaska?
Well, as we will all agree, what is happening in the Gulf right now is a tragedy. There were 11 lives lost, which is absolutely unacceptable, and it is truly truly tragic. The environmental devastation that we continue to see unfold just continues that tragedy. And then there's going to be the economic disaster as we see job losses, whether it's shrimpers who are no longer able to go out and fish for their livelihood, or whether it's those oil and gas workers who have had good paying jobs that have supported a family who are now laid off as we look at what's the consequences of the moratoria are. I think the lesson that we are learning from all this is there can be no shortcuts when it comes to safety. There is risk in extraction of any of our resources. We saw that in West Virginia with the deaths of so many coal miners. We see that and we're reminded of that. But we have an obligation, and when I say we, it's not only those of us in the federal government, but all of us as consumers of energy. We have an obligation to ensure that as we produce a resource that we demand, that we also demand the highest safety standards. And I think what we're learning is that some of those standards were not met, that there were shortcuts that were taken, that there were procedures that were not followed. And we see that not only from those that are responsible, but also on the government side, that we failed, that we didn't do the level of enforcement that we had in place, but that we didn't enforce for whatever reason. So as we talk about oil exploration offshore Alaska, we recognize our geography presents a whole different set of factors. We are a long way from the resources that will be necessary. And so in order for a plan to proceed for operations up there, it's got to be pretty airtight. The plan has to anticipate the contingencies and to be able to respond. So again, as Alaskans, I think we recognize we have a resource that is valuable. We want to be able to provide that to the rest of the country, as well as provide jobs and revenues for Alaskans. But I don't think we are willing to do it at any cost. So it's always finding that balance, that we're able to draw from a resource, but ensure that our environment and how we proceed and the level of safety is always first and foremost.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Virginia.
I'm Virginia Angaik from Tununic, and I attended Paul T. Albert Morris School, and my question is, what steps do you take to make the voice of the Native people heard in Congress?
Well, Virginia, as you know, I have been on the the Indian Affairs Committee since I came to the Senate 7 years ago. I've been the ranking member on that committee, which was quite an honor, but it has given me an opportunity to be an advocate not only for Alaska Natives, but for all of our indigenous people, American Indians and the Native Hawaiians. And it is a responsibility that I have taken up with real earnestness. I think we recognize that in so many parts of rural Alaska, it is those that are living in our small communities, our villages, Alaska Natives, where our statistics are simply not acceptable. We see higher rates of domestic abuse, sexual assault, fetal alcohol syndrome. We have limited law enforcement. The health facilities are not what they need to be, and so our health needs are not met. Our education needs are that much more difficult to come by. So it is so important to be an advocate for all of rural Alaska, for all of Alaska Natives, and it has been something that I have utilized as my position on the Energy Committee to help advance that. Even, did I say Energy Committee or Indian Affairs Committee? But it's also important to recognize that in my position on the Energy Committee, it also gives me an opportunity to help our Alaska Natives. As we develop energy policies, we look to, well, how can we build policies that will allow Alaska Natives to best access the energy resources within their areas. I also serve on the HELP Committee, the Health, Education, Labor, Pensions. That's also an area where I can focus on the health care needs and the education needs of Alaska Natives. So it has been an effort that I have, again, taken up with great enthusiasm and great commitment. I have made a very concerted effort to try to get out to as many of our rural communities throughout the state and to meet so many of the great leaders that we have in place. It's one of the great parts of the job. Thank you for being here, Virginia.
Thank you.
Alexander, you're last up.
I'm Alexander Deedy from Wasilla, and I recently attended Colony High School. Senator, scientists have predicted that as early as 2013, enough sea ice will be gone from the Arctic Ocean to open up the possibility of a northern trade route over North America. How do you feel about opening these Alaskan waters to that trade?
Well, it's happening. It's happening as we speak. We've actually had cruise ships off of Barrow. There is a level of commerce that is underway right now. What we need to do is to be prepared for that level of commerce. As most of you know, if you've spent any time up north, our assets are somewhat limited in terms of harbors, in terms of that infrastructure that could service a level of commerce. If there were an incident, the level of response capability. I see the receding of the ice and the opening of these maritime commercial passages as both an opportunity for us, but also a challenge. We just shouldn't accept that, well, we're going to have a level of commerce up there that we haven't had before. I've been engaged with the Coast Guard to a great level of detail about their response capability up north as they see additional areas of ocean that are now under their watch. And this is something that we need to be working with our Coast Guard, with our communities up there, with commerce, with the fishing industry. This is something that is happening. So we need to be engaged as a state. I keep reminding my colleagues down here, America is an Arctic nation because of Alaska's position. And as such, we need to be prepared for that Arctic that is really evolving as we speak. It's really quite an exciting area to be working on, and one that I like. Well, we've run down the clock, but I appreciate the questions, great questions from all of you. And even more, I appreciate the fact that you have given a short portion of your summer before you head off to school or embark on your next opportunity to spend working in our offices, gaining a little appreciation about the Senate, about your government, how it all works. But it's delightful to have all of you back here, and I hope you're enjoying the experiences as much as we are having you here. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for joining us on this edition of the Alaska Report. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.